are getting way too expensive. I can't afford to play these new games, so I'm going to find the best free-to-play games on Steam. I'm going to generate a random number and then find the corresponding game in the free game category on Steam. Now, I'm not looking to play games like Fortnite, Warframe, or Apex Legends. I want to find hidden gems that offer tons of engaging content without having to pay a single cent. That's why I'm going to be mainly looking at games in the new and trending section. So without further ado, let's start playing some free games. Alright, this was the very first random number generated for the series, and it was 16. I was excited heading into the new and trending tab until I counted to the 16th game and saw it was, yeah, of course the first game in the series would be unplayable. So, for obvious reasons, I'm going to have to veto this and will not be playing this game. It's just slightly too inappropriate for YouTube. Well, the first game of the series didn't go so well, but luckily this next roll came up as a 47, and it was a game I could actually play. And of course, it ended up being a horror game, which I was not entirely stoked about, but the game did look interesting and actually playable, so I added it to my library, installed it, and started playing. This is Senior Sunset. Honestly, this game was actually pretty cool. It's got decent graphics and sound design that create a terrifying atmosphere, but unfortunately the gameplay did get pretty stale pretty quick. You play as a student investigating the catastrophe that has decimated your school and left it a complete wreck. You search the school for tape recordings that lay out the story of what happened, and you find keys that unlock doors that get you to the next stage to find more tape recordings. Fairly early on, you encounter a monster roaming around what's left of the school that is supposed to act as an obstacle as you search for more keys and recordings. And normally you're supposed to drop your backpack when the monster spots you and run as fast as you can to a fire alarm to deter it. Or so I assume. I only had one real encounter with the monster where he was actually able to catch me, and after I restarted, I never saw him again. I think the monster just kind of glitched out and got stuck somewhere, but after he was gone, it just became a tedious game of finding keys, getting lost trying to find the next door, listening to a tape recording that was like mostly mainly static, and then rinse and repeat. There was a map of the school you could look at, but I just still kept getting lost. Through the recordings, you learn that there was this kid named Joseph who wasn't exactly a model student. It's hinted at that he did something horrible, and you eventually find out that he is actually the monster. For some reason, he mutated into one of the most horrifying monsters I've ever seen. Like, I was legitimately scared of this thing, but only for like the 30 seconds I actually saw it while playing. After you collect all of the recordings and keys in the school, you find a tunnel that goes beneath the school. Wanting to find out what happened, you jump into the hole with no easy way out. Yeah, there's a terrifying monster on the loose, and we decide it's best to corner ourselves in a hole just because we want to know what happened. In the tunnel, you find more recordings from a girl that apparently had a crush on Joseph before he was a monster, of course. The recordings are basically just the girl's diary talking about how her and Joseph are going to sit on the bus together and how all the other girls are jealous of their blooming romance. Until the last two recordings where she realizes that Joseph isn't such a nice guy and he kills her. You find the girl's body in the tunnel and you breathe a sigh of relief now that you figured out what happened, sort of, except you don't really know why Joseph turned into a monster, but I guess that's just not really important. You go to leave the tunnel, but that's when the Joseph monster returns and attacks you, knocking you to the ground. Then he picks you up and just chokes the life out of you. Good thing you went down there to learn the truth just so you could die with it immediately. After killing you, the sun starts to rise and Joseph decides to leave the school and start roaming the wilderness like the wild, hideous monster he is. And then he gets hit by a bus and gets fucking annihilated. I think it's somewhat implied that the main character didn't actually die and ran him over and then ripped off all his limbs just to make sure he couldn't hurt anyone else. I think the bus was enough. Honestly, if I'd played through this game with the monster actually posing a challenge, I think I would have scored it a little higher, but the experience I had went from terrifying to tedious fairly quickly and ended up only taking me an hour to complete it, so it just gets a 6 out of 10. Alright, so the first official game in the series ended up being a pretty decent game. Not the best, but for a free game, it was alright. And no, I'm not counting Meet My Stepmoms as the first official game in the series. But now we're going to get on to the second game. So first, we're going to roll a number, and the number we get is 27. Game number 27 on the Steam free-to-play list is Crap Game Don't Play. Let's get this one installed and try it out. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this game because I didn't spend a lot of time playing it. There really wasn't a lot going on with this one, and I didn't play it for very long because I just couldn't take it anymore. This game is just essentially two friends pestering each other about how awful the game is while making these fun little adjustments to make it ever so slightly less terrible. The dialogue of the friends bickering is funny at times, but it takes too long to get to the point and advance the actual game, and it just gets old listening to them pretty quick. The game starts you off on an empty grid with a square that you can move around on the grid, and that's it. That's the whole game. Until the game creators added an exit for you, which you have to click to advance. The exit completely closes the game, but when you boot the game back up, the creators have added some NPCs and buildings to this boring grid landscape. But take it from me, it doesn't get any better after that. And after you exit out of the game, you should just uninstall it. So this really is a crap game. Don't play it. I'm going to give it a 1 out of 10 just for the couple of funny moments that made me chuckle. All right, here we go. New number, and we roll a 31. 31 is a game called Raise the Colors. This one, I guess, looks somewhat interesting. Let's install it and dive into it. All right, cool. This is the first game in the series that actually has a multiplayer, and nobody's playing it. Yeah, not really surprised. So this game just drops you into a small map on a short timer with a van full of flags, and all you're supposed to do is go around the map and place 50 flags before the time runs out. Not really very interesting gameplay. I can't imagine it would be any more fun in multiplayer even. The only thing that saves this game is the goofy bouncy movement and the ragdoll physics after you get a boot to the chest from one of the NPCs walking around. You can run these guys over and they'll just get right back up. Without these NPCs ragdolling your character around, I would have given this game a score reflecting the player count, a 0 out of 10. But I'm a sucker for a good ragdoll mechanic in a game, so I'll give it a 1 out of 10. All right, that's it for episode 1. Unfortunately, wasn't really able to find any hidden gem free Steam games, but still had a couple of laughs looking at these horrible games, and I'm excited to do more in the future. If you guys want to see more, make sure you like and subscribe, and if you want to leave some suggestions for some free hidden gem games I should try, I'll check them out in future episodes. Thanks for watching. Bye.